Oh, I have a thing to share. Oh, it's darkness on your side, Josh. Hey, Josh.
Is anybody speaking? I'm trying to find out if my sound is working.
We can hear you now.
So you can hear me, but I can't hear you. Okay, this is going to be fun.
So, Ali, there is a link that I dropped in the chat. There's quite a discussion in the LFX PCC channel where they discuss. I don't know how much you know about LFX
Okay, there
and
we go.
PCC. Can you hear us now?
Yeah. Yep.
All right. So what
You say BCC?
PCC, Project Control Center of the LFX.
No, I don't know what that is.
So Linux Foundation have a portal where they basically with your LF ID and the meetings, and so all the Zoom meetings go in there. They've got their own calendar. It's quite a nice system. So it's a project control system where you can see for your projects how much pull requests, how much Git traffic. So it combines with Flow Monitor and all sorts of other community health checker, and so it's quite a nice system. But one of the
how much of it works though? Because like my experience with LFX has been with EasyCLA and Insights, both of which are pretty badly broken.
Yeah, Insights I think is busy getting better. And EasyCLA I'm not sure. So on the project control side, they're busy pushing really hard on that to fix that. So I'm using it a lot on another project, and it works quite well on there. It's buggy. And like yesterday, I was migrating a meeting into PCC, ran into an issue, created a ticket, and within the hour they helped me and resolved the issue. So they're pushing it real hard. And from the LF all hands that we had last week, it is a big drive. They want all the Linux Foundation projects to use it. So the link that I just shared is one of the features that everybody's asking for is we want to be able to get YouTube videos automatically out of LFX onto YouTube. And if you click on that link, you can actually upvote the option. So there's a bit of a
it doesn't open though. For me, it just loads, but I can try again later.
Yeah. So yeah, that's just the background on that, and share it all with all your family and friends and upvote YouTube auto loading, because that will enhance the purpose of LFX a lot.
Nice. Okay. That would be super useful.
Yes, then we don't have to manage the meetings anymore.
Yeah, there is a major problem that they, if we're going through the LFX portal for meetings though, that's kind of a critical obstacle that would prevent us from using it, which is the requirement that you log in with your Linux Foundation ID.
Not really. I'm not exactly sure because I have an LF ID, but we have several people attending CCC meetings that does not have LF IDs. So I think if you just have the link, you could actually join.
Yeah. Okay. Because like I saw earlier incarnations with it, you were required to sign in through Linux Foundation, and that just wouldn't be acceptable for a meeting where we want community members to be able to just drop in.
Yes. Yeah. So they are working on that, and then there's one of the problems at the moment is afterwards you can actually go look at your attendees and sort that out. who was there, but you cannot add somebody officially to the meeting unless they got an LFID. So I pushed this week and say, I have several people. What can we do? And they said another feature is that they actually sent me a little video clip of the feature being rolled out. And they said, it's in test phase, but soon you'll be able to add people afterwards to your meeting attendance without them having an LFX ID. So
Okay.
those pushbacks are busy
Yeah.
filtering through,
Yeah.
and it's getting better.
Yeah. I mean, I already told another staff member this, that if they want to convince projects, et cetera, to use the LFX portal, that YouTube upload really is the critical thing.
Oh,
It's the
yes,
thing that is super
absolutely.
painful for all the projects and would actually get them to change workflows if they could get it. And if they can't get
Exactly.
it, you're going to get a lot of shrugging from projects saying, hey, what we've got now works for us.
Mhm.
The
No,
so
fully agree.
Yeah. So I
on
don't.
the other hand, I will also say, having worked on this for Kubernetes, YouTube upload is something that requires constant maintenance because YouTube keeps changing their API. So even if they get it working well, they can never pull people off of it. There will always have to be somebody assigned to be on top of that.
Yep. But luckily they've got the whole team working on LFX.
Yeah.
So if it breaks, we make a ticket.
Okay.
All right, that was my pre-meeting rant.
Okay.
So the reason that Rian told me about this is because I was creating a ticket in CNCF/foundation poster about auto upload mechanism for YouTube video.
Yeah.
Now, yeah.
Okay. Okay.
We have
Well,
Jason. I don't know if
yeah.
you met them already. Ah,
Nope.
okay.
Hey, Jason. You here to talk about a project? Are you here to volunteer? Are you just hanging out?
I'm here to, excuse me, I'm here to listen and learn. So one of the things about, I don't know, I want to say November, December, I asked if there were DEI initiatives within CNCF, and somebody pointed out that the tag group was probably the best group to get started with or to ping. And so since this is my first meeting, I'm kind of just in listen mode to learn more about how things are done. But ultimately, the goal is to see what we can do about having like formalized DEI initiatives. Assuming that there aren't any that I'm aware of, I was just directed to this group.
Yeah. The active one that we have through, okay, so let's start this on the agenda because no reason not to put it there. The active one that we have currently through Tag Contributor Strategy is the Deaf and Hard of Hearing initiative.
Mm-hmm.
And we started with that simply because there was a group of people. There was a group of people who really wanted to do this. The idea was partly to kind of make a template for how we would handle other diversity initiatives. But it hasn't actually started on anything else yet.
Okay.
And honestly, diversity kind of ends up in Tag Contributor Strategy mostly for lack of a better place, right? There's obviously a lot of overlap with contributor growth, and that's where a lot of this has started out from, and some overlap with governance as well, right? Because that's the defensive side of diversity is governance.
Right.
But in the long run, we would actually like diversity to be its own thing in the CNCF because it also overlaps several areas that are not under the tag, right? Things like
Agreed.
speakers, things like travel sponsorships, which are not under the tag. And so in the long run, I would see actually there being not a tag exactly because tags are meant to be project oriented. But I don't know, a diversity initiative, diversity team, something like that, directly under the CNCF rather than being under the tag.
Agreed,
The
yeah.
being under the tag thing is just incremental steps.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah. So, but in the meantime, because it is incremental steps, if you wanted to start something, if you wanted to branch out into an area that's not deaf and hard of hearing, you would be welcome to.
Okay.
And we would help broadcast your message to attract other people to the initiative. And of course, incorporate feedback and changes and everything else into our other materials, right? Because our other materials mention diversity, but they don't necessarily have a lot of very specific advice, which I'm sure a lot of project leads would like to have.
Yeah, so I guess what would be the best starting point from my perspective, like creating an issue in a GitHub repo or a proposal doc, like what's the I guess what's step 0 or step 1?
Well, what were you interested in starting in particular on the diversity front?
So I think probably start small and build out. Because diversity is a big topic that covers
Right.
a lot of things. So
Yeah.
one thing that I'm thinking is starting with what's it called? Starting with maybe BIPOC and CNCF or something like that.
Yep.
Working with people in the BIPOC who identify as BIPOC and whatnot, and ways to elevate them as they're still, just not CNCF related, just kind of tech
Yeah.
in the world related. A lot of initiatives in general, because there's a lot of underrepresentation of certain groups in tech.
Mhm.
So I feel CNCF is in a position and has enough mind share to where we have the ability to positively influence that.
Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, and then I would say the steps from there is we write up a little page, right? And this is basically sort of a proposal for a sub project, but it's very skeleton. Mostly it's the important thing is what your goals are, right? Because we're trying to attract people.
Right.
And so we write up a little page with the goals, which we put in the tag CS repository, and we attempt to schedule like a first meeting so that people can show up, indicate their interest in helping, and brainstorm about what the first initiatives are going to be, right? Because like with deaf and hard of hearing, one of the things we found through that was, what works is you pick something, right? You pick, speaker representation, you pick KubeCon attendance, you pick, project leadership, you pick one particular area and you start with that, right?
Yep.
So that you're not trying to boil the ocean.
Right.
So, and that's what you'd get out of the brainstorming session, right? Because the important thing is pick something that people are willing to spend time working on.
Gotcha. Okay, so yeah,
Yep.
Find a specific action item, like improving speaker representation at CNCF events, or
Right.
Speaker scholarships, or BIPOC student scholarships for KubeCon, something to that effect, something actionable.
Yeah.
If you have a look in the chat, I dropped an open issue that's specifically about that. That actually links if you go to our repo. I'll send you a link. It's not going to make a good thing. So if you go here.
Yeah, and that was another initiative, and it was an example of starting with a specific goal. Now they ended up not really following through on this, but this was a group of European women who wanted to start with the goal of increasing the representation of women at European events.
Was this all about events, Josh?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that was their initial goal. It came out of contributor growth. they didn't go anywhere with it through our tag. I think a couple of them actually ended up running KCDs, and so they ended up doing things more directly.
Gotcha.
So the but I mean that's an example, and you can talk about a lot of other things, and I have my own things to bring to brainstorming sessions as somebody who organizes several events, right? Which is questions like, hey, how to identify people of color so that I can favor them in the selection process without like profiling them.
Exactly.
I don't have a solution for that, and have not been able to figure it out, right? The so the you know and and then go from there, right? I think you'll get a lot of interest. Timing might end up being an issue depending on when you get rolling, right? Because I'll say we don't want to have that first meeting within 2 weeks of KubeCon because people will be distracted.
Right.
If you could have the first meeting in February, I don't want it to be too soon because we need to get the word out. But if you could have that first meeting in February, are you planning on going to KubeCon Paris?
Paris, no.
Okay.
North America, yes.
Okay.
So
So we
I've
would
got-
be aiming, yeah, we would be aiming towards North America then for any in-person thing, which would be nice because then we could actually get something on the schedule rather than giving you 2 minutes at the end of our maintainer session.
Yep.
Which we would do if you were there. It's just that having something of your own would allow more people to participate. Yeah, so yeah, so that sounds, I mean, that would be next steps, and happy to help get that set up.
Cool.
And to help you with that goals document so that we can get it rolling.
Awesome. Yeah, I'll make a first pass at it here over, between now and the next meeting, and then we can, discuss
Yeah.
it. So I'm looking at the open initiative that we didn't get a response. Should I just create a new one similar to this one?
Yeah, you want to create a new one because your focus is BIPOC. Yeah.
Yep. Sounds great.
Yep.
So- I just wanted to quickly mention this. So this is the Deaf and Hard of Hearing initiative, and I think this was the initial, like the kickstart was this ticket probably. So Catherine created this ticket, shared it with people, then people showed interest, and there are actually a lot of comments here. And then they set up a meeting, and then they did this discussion about what the goals are and stuff like that. So maybe this could be somewhat kind of inspiration to.
Yeah, and if I write up a good comprehensive issue with the problem statement and where you're going with it, there is already a lot of initiatives that for example, I know at KubeCon North America last year, there was a diversity and inclusion lunch.
Yep.
Where they invited all the people that attended or went to KubeCon on the diversity and inclusion scholarships. So rather than spinning up just a silo of something new, it might be good to go figure out what's out there and a call for action from everywhere and say, put your things together here on the issue that we can decide what is a properly focused strategy going to work like. Otherwise, we just spread the enthusiasm across several things.
Agreed. Yeah, I mean, it makes more sense to collaborate versus versus have a lot of disparate, similar issues.
Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, for that matter, I would also say it would be worthwhile to drop by the Deaf of Heart and Hearing Initiative and tell them what you're doing. They have a separate meeting.
Yep.
Because they will have, among other things, ideas for you.
Also on the README of the Tag Contribute strategy, you'll have all the different initiatives, and there, at the bottom of the list is the Deaf and Hard of Hearing with their chart, and if you click there, it will take you to the meetings.
Mhm.
So you can just follow
Yeah.
through there.
Perfect. This has all been great. Thank you so much.
One-stop
Thank you.
information shop.
Thank you for reaching out to us. Okay. Okay. You're welcome to hang out for the rest of the meeting. It will mostly be about other things.
Yep.
So,
Cool.
okay. I dropped planning the KubeCon session on there because I want to not forget about it.
Yeah.
We don't have Dawn with us. Catherine actually recruited somebody from the DHOH initiative to help out.
So, Josh, I actually have never done a panel talk before. So, how does it work? It shouldn't
Yeah,
be
so there's
improvising, I guess. We really need to
yeah,
prepare in advance. So, how does it work? Yeah.
yeah. So there's actually two ways to do it. And that's one of the things that we need to decide. So one way to do it, which we've done before, actually we've done it both ways before, right? One way to do it is that it's not so much a panel as it is a set of mini talks that string together. Do you follow me? That
Mhm.
is, each person takes one aspect of the topic and talks about that for 4 minutes. And then they hand it off to the next person who talks about it for 4 minutes. That was loosely how we were planning to do this one, because this is rotating back to how do we attract contributors. And I feel it's very helpful to have sort of linear structure to what we explain for the projects. The second approach, which we have used before for other stuff, is you treat the panel as if it was an interview panel. So you have a moderator who asks questions, most of them sort of pre-programmed questions, and then they get answered by select members of the panel. And we did that in Amsterdam.
Yeah.
Which also worked fine. But I think the linear structure, just the handoff between between the four people, each one taking a different topic, or actually 5 people now, I think, is probably going to work better for this because we want it to be as simple and clear for the projects as possible, right? Because they're struggling with this whole topic.
Okay. So, the new person from the DHOH group, are they? I don't know, like if they can talk about this topic, or are they just gonna be moderating? Maybe it depends on that which approach we choose.
Yeah. Yeah, I think we should go back to them because if we take the handoff approach, then the thing for them to do would be to take one of the topics, and it would be a question of what it was they felt they could speak to.
Okay.
The and because, like, for example, I had approached Catherine initially about her taking talking about sort of damn it, there's a better term for this, contributor approval, contributor kudos, because they have a whole program for that with the Linkerd project. Just making sure that contributors are intangibly or even tangibly rewarded for making contributions. And it's not something that a lot of CNCF projects do, and probably something that more of them should do, particularly for brand new contributors.
Yeah, we are talking about that in Knative. I mean, it's
Yeah.
not big rewards, but at least acknowledging them.
Yeah. I mean, in my experience, the important thing about that is not necessarily the thing that you get, right? Because often it's like literally a virtual badge, right? It's that someone noticed, right? That's the real reward for the contributor, is that their contribution was noticed, which makes them feel a lot better about making a second contribution. So I guess my question is, to back up there, is there any reason not to do the handoff style that I'm not thinking of?
Yeah, I don't know. So if the new panelist thinks they can do this, sure.
Yeah. I'm sure we can find something they can speak to.
Yeah.
If nothing else, recruiting diverse contributors,
Yeah.
given that they have direct personal experience with that.
Yeah. Okay, so then yeah, sorry, go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
So then the next step here is like finding out what would be these subtopics. Exactly, I was gonna say topics. Contributor kudos.
Yeah, and we can do a little brainstorming here.
Yeah.
I really wanted to, so the problem is that what we should really nail down the topics would be at the contributor growth meeting, because this is really more under that working group. That's not my personal problem with that, is I'm not going to be at next week's contributor growth meeting. Oh wait, no, next week is not contributor growth.
No,
next week is general.
General.
Yeah, next week is general contributor strategy. I'm actually not going to be at the succeeding meeting either. So I'll need to do my brainstorming either here or on Slack. I guess on Slack is more likely. So
why don't we create a Google Doc where everyone writes two topics that they can talk about, maybe?
Yep. Sounds good.
Okay. I can create this Google Doc and explain.
Okay. Yeah, drop it in the in our shared drive.
Aline, do you have access to the shared drive?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, everyone should. It's just limited who can move things to the shared drive.
Yes,
and I don't know why I don't know why I have special permissions in that regard.
You are a super special person, because not me, Amy, anybody else can get to move things from one organization or into the CNCF, especially from Gmail or another organization. If you can share that superpower, I would love to have it.
Yeah, this is the thing that I loathe about Google Drive, is the whole permissions thing is just chaos. And from my perspective, it's also a mess that I have to use a personal account in order to do things that I am doing for my employer because of G Drive permissions.
That happens to me too.
So, and I don't have a solution for that, right? Like it's not something where I can like talk to our Google Drive admins at work and they can fix something because they can't. Okay. Do.
Okay, I'll create the Google
Okay.
Doc.
Yeah, I think that's about as much as we can do on that. At some point, just so people are aware, we're going to be scheduling people. We are planning on having a kiosk. The kiosk is going to be primarily staffed by Deaf and Hard of Hearing Working Group, because that was the purpose in having the kiosk. But they're probably going to need some spot help in staffing, because I think there's only 4 or 5 people from that working group going to KubeCon.
Josh, at one stage there was some talk about a panel discussion about road mapping, and are we still thinking about that?
No, not panel discussion. Wait. Who's on? Hold on.
I don't have a specific
Oh,
lead
you
for
mean-
that, but
Yeah, I was gonna say, wait, where was that going to be?
at I think at Paris.
Okay, are you on our list of speakers for Paris? If you're on our list of speaker for Paris, then the idea was more for you to do a few minutes about using roadmaps.
If it's on, I'm there. I just need to sort out my visa this week. So that's why I'm asking. So if there's something planned like that, I'm available. If it's not, it's no worries. I just want to make sure where we're going. Or if we want to do it, rather do it to Salt Lake City, that's also good.
Okay.
Because I'll probably be at Salt Lake City as well.
Yeah, wait, you're not listed on the talk.
Yeah.
So yeah, so that would be something we would need to sort out right away.
But Rian, were you interested in doing the talk? I don't remember.
No, the initial thing was we wasn't sure what we're going to talk about, and then they came up with a deaf and hard of hearing thing. So I think maybe it's colliding, and we were talking about if not, then we do it at Salt Lake City. So I'm just raising it because I haven't heard
Yeah.
anything like that again. So I'm all good
Okay.
if it's just a deaf and hard of hearing thing.
Yeah.
Um,
I mean, oh, you know what? One of the things we were talking about was doing project roadmaps for a maintainer circle, which is not a KubeCon thing, at least not for Paris, because there's no space
Yes.
for maintainer circle.
good.
I mean, and we can also do it in Salt Lake City. If we're doing a roadmap thing, I would want to do it more the general thing about roadmaps. So it include
Yes.
roadmaps as a contributor tool, how you maintain your roadmap, issues around roadmaps, how you have a sort of public roadmap editing process, etc. Which could definitely be a thing. We'd want to, say, recruit somebody from the Kubernetes enhancements group, for example, as a co-presenter.
Oh, that sounds like a Salt Lake City thing.
Yeah.
When we have more space. Okay, just want to make sure.
Yeah.
I'll be in Paris anyhow, so I can maybe help a little bit with
Okay.
or white
Okay.
track. But
Yeah. Yeah. Well, let's sort it out. I mean, one of the things that I'll say is we're really only limited by time, right? In terms of like the maintainer session in Paris. So if we decide that we want to have a roadmap segment in Paris and you're going anyway, we can always add you.
Is there a limit for the numbers?
Uh,
Like we are now
There's
for
only a limit for the number of listed speakers. You can have as many people on stage as you want. It's just that there's a limit in the number of listed speakers, and therefore the number of speakers who are getting passes. However, several of us are already getting passes for other reasons. So it's not really an issue. So okay. Yeah, so let's hammer that out on the Google Doc. Yeah, and of course we'll have to see whether or not KubeCon NA actually is in Salt Lake City, but it'll be somewhere. So okay. Anything else on KubeCon?
Nope, not on me.
Nothing from me.
Yep. So next is, what's the next big thing for governance working group? Self-evaluation guide is really our top priority.
Yeah, but still waiting, right? So,
Well, I mean, it doesn't have to be waiting. It's waiting on us to have time to work on it.
no, I think the idea was that we wait for the project moving level thing to finish and then start with this.
I don't think we want to wait. I have no idea what's happening with that. Presumably it's waiting on the TOC offsite, but I don't know.
Okay.
And in the meantime, if stuff that we put on the evaluation ends up not being a requirement, it'll still be good advice.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, I mean, I did some work on this already, so I can
Yeah.
restart this work. And in the end, if there are different requirements coming from that initiative, we can always update, you know.
Yeah. Yeah. Somewhere we have a link to the starting document.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, one of the other things is it really, here's the other reason to actually go ahead and just get that done. Right now, whether, due to the TOC elections and stuff, changes to project status are in limbo right now. But post KubeCon EU, they're going to start moving on stuff again. So having even a partial self-evaluation guide that we can hand to projects is going to save us a lot of work once the projects start moving again.
Sounds good. Yep.
Yeah. Okay. Yep. So
before the project board review, if we're done with that one, is there anything we want to post, like social media?
good question. We don't have any new publications.
I was doing
know of.
posts for mentoring,
Yeah.
and they were boosted by CNCF, but that's all. Yeah.
I did not make the last mentoring meeting. What's the Anybody know what's going on with the app? Oh, here we are.
Yeah. What's the question?
Mentoring organization applications for Google Summer Code are due on February 6th.
Yeah, we have done it already.
Oh yeah? Okay.
Yeah. We don't have any project ideas yet because all the ideas are in LFX. But yeah, Google will probably accept it because it was also like that last year.
Yeah. 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 But since now is the time to collect GSOC project ideas and LFX is closed, we could actually put something out soliciting Google Summer Code project ideas.
Yeah.
The question is, where should we tell people to put them?
What do you mean? Like
we say, hey, do you want to do Google Summer Code for your CNCF project? Where where should we tell people to send those?
Yeah, so
Is there a place they can open an issue, something else?
yeah, create under this page like summer of code, project ideas. Yeah, I'm sharing
So a
this.
pull request? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
Yep.
That sounds like something we could put out on social media and elsewhere.
Mhm.
Yeah, one of the other things is actually is that any of these announcements that we do, our weekly announcements, we should probably also put those in email Slack as well. And then I don't remember where we are with LinkedIn, but for other open source things I do, I'm seeing LinkedIn being used increasingly.
Yeah, I mean, I don't really post anymore personally the open source stuff on Twitter anymore, not really often. So LinkedIn is
Yeah.
but we don't have a page or something, right?
Well, I don't know, we might. Bug. Yeah.
I'm also not sure if we can have one because
Yeah, I don't know how LinkedIn works.
CNCF
I've spent so many years avoiding it, and now I have to know how to use it. So, okay.
Yeah. So should I go to the board if you have nothing else?
Yeah.
Okay, in new, we have the governance review request for Knative. In case you
Yep.
don't know, this is prepared by using the form.
Yeah. Oh, so actually related to that, and it would be a good thing to take care of before Dawn gets started. Has the trademark committee been scrubbed from everywhere?
So I am on it. I'm on it. So I finally got the recording for the committee to dissolve themselves.
Mhm.
Actually, I have a ticket about that where I was asking you a question how to do it. If you think that's a good idea, I'll just propose.
Yeah, no, if you have the meeting that where they vote to dissolve themselves, then you just need PRs against the governance documents, and then they stop
Exactly.
existing.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So that was my thing too.
Yeah. Yeah, because actually it would be good to get that removed before Dawn gets started, so that she's not trying to figure that out. Since it's something that's already obsolete.
So yeah, I was writing here like delete trademark committee MD file, copy paste its responsibilities into the other related committees, and add a recording and write a blog post about it so that it's like published somewhere.
Okay.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Good. Glad to have that done with. Because it took like 4 attempts to actually have that meeting.
Yeah. And then I had to wait like 2-3 months to get the recording of the meeting. And I finally got it 2 weeks ago.
Yeah. Yeah. Rian, for context, prior to joining the CNCF, the Knative had a trademark committee that had supreme authority over trademark usage and spec compliance, conformance. And you know, from that perspective was not under the steering committee. They were equal to the steering committee. And after joining the CNCF, that group was no longer necessary. But the problem is, as soon as the group stopped being necessary, the people who were on that committee stopped answering messages. And so we needed the group to dissolve itself, but getting their attention to get them to do that took a long time. You know, but that was still better than like appealing to the TOC or something else, which would have been the alternative. We really couldn't get anybody to show up.
Okay, so luckily that's sorted, so Knative can move forward.
Yep. Yeah, and I'd love to see Dawn's perspective on the whole Knative governance, because I have too much history of with it to be objective or to look at it from the perspective of, hey, if I was a new potential contributor to Knative, how would I regard this? Which is always one of those things you want to evaluate.
Never audit your own stuff.
Yep. Okay. So I'm going to move the self-assessment to work in progress.
Yeah, and I was just writing a comment about that.
Yeah. Okay.
Cool. So we don't have anything new other than Knative. And blocked is still blocked. This is the project move on leveling
Yeah,
project.
the only reason we don't close that is that that actually is the anchor issue for the project moving levels
Yeah.
initiative.
Yeah.
The detail assistance documents are on meeting requirements. So that would be something we do after the self-assessment guide. So that's say, okay, we've got the self-assessment guide. And then for each sort of thing, right? Like, how do I decide what kind of governance my project needs? We actually kind of already have a document for that. It could use some it could use some updating, but how do I hold my first steering election? How do I hold a steering election? That's actually on my backlog.
Yeah.
So for each potential thing a project needs to do, a how-to document is helpful.
Yeah.
We've had a number of people who, like new volunteers for our tag, who put their hand up about running a release process. So far the pattern has been somebody shows interest in it, and they put their name down in the issue, and then we never hear from them again. I understand this. It's actually a big task. Hopefully sooner or later, one of them will bounce back with a, hey, here's my draft document, which would be really nice.
Yeah. So Divya was actually writing a question here, or basically, I guess she wanted to make sure before actually starting. Can we write something here? Does what she writes here make sense to you, Josh?
Okay, well, I'm looking at her advisory document. I thought she said, I've got some stuff jotted down and we'll share it within a few days, but then we didn't see anything. I mean, I'm pretty sure that she got sidelined on something else.
Okay.
Because I know how many things she does.
Yeah. Okay. Okay, cool. I leave it as it is.
Yeah.
So, anything specific you want to talk about in backlog?
I mean, I have a couple things on my plate that don't require discussion.
Governance review Istio, for example.
Yeah. That's been on my plate. I mean, once they said they weren't gonna gate graduation on it, it didn't have a deadline anymore.
Hmm.
That's more because Istio is in the same situation Knative is, where they have a bunch of governance baggage from their existence before joining CNCF. And unlike Knative, there isn't anybody inside the project who's looking at revising that.
Yeah.
And so I've had that, but I have a partial draft on it, but part of the draft is I have to explain how Istio governance is set up in the first place, because it's actually pretty complicated. One of my bits of feedback is going to be it's far more complicated than it should be based on the number of people who are currently involved in the project.
Hmm.
As in, it has a level of complexity that was created at a time when there were 3 times as many people contributing to the project. And
So-
now that there are fewer people, that complexity is getting in the way.
So I have a question actually here.
Mhm.
So Istio is already graduated. I know if there are any issues in their governance, they should definitely fix it. But what's the mechanism to
There's no enforcement. What happens is I write up a document, I save it to our repo, and I turn it over to the Istio steering committee, and they decide what they want to act on.
Okay. But they don't have to act, you know? So
They don't have to act, but in this case, I think that they actually will. They just won't necessarily take 100% of my advice.
yeah, well, also like there are other graduated projects. Maybe
Mhm.
they had governance reviews, maybe they have not. I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah, well,
What-
most of them have not, because they happened before we did governance reviews. And then there's a second problem, which is that one of the things we look at is how do we put it in our template when the governance atrophies, um,
What?
when it basically stops functioning.
Hmm.
Because, like, if we had a whole group of volunteers, I would love to be doing a quick check on every graduated project every year to be seeing whether or not their governance was still functional. Because we've already flagged some projects as, hey, this project, it wouldn't take much for this project to stop being functional. Right? That was my whole set of arguments around Cloud Events, for example, is that Cloud Events is literally in the position where one person quitting the project unexpectedly could cause their governance to stop functioning.
Mhm.
And so somebody needs to be checking that hasn't happened. Or that they've revised their governance to remove that single point of failure. So the and that would actually be the sort of thing that we might want to put out there as once we're done with some of the other stuff, because this is another place where the self-evaluation guide is important. Because if we have a new volunteer coming in who doesn't already have a ton of open source project experience, which most won't, then we can hand them that self-evaluation guide to say, hey, this is what we're checking up on.
Okay.
And eventually, if we have volunteers write a smaller specific annual checkup guide, which projects could do themselves for that matter, right?
Yeah.
Which would be ideal, but chances are the projects that are having problems are exactly the ones that won't do the review themselves, because their governance has failed. So who's going to do the review?
Yeah.
So
this brings me to like then why would we do Istio governance review then? I'm just thinking they're already graduated.
Yeah.
I mean, if it's a new project that's joining CNCF, that makes perfect sense because you have the opportunity.
Yeah. Well, the reason to do the Istio
time.
governance review is because one was literally never done. Governance was not examined as part of accepting Istio as a project, and it was not examined as part of promoting them to graduate.
Okay.
So we now have a project at the graduated level that has never had a governance review of any kind. Well, I wouldn't say of any kind. When they were coming in, they checked that they had a senior governance body with employer diversity. But that was the end of it. And like I said, you know, this is more partly that I'm involved with the project and I'm actually can recognize that the project has a lot of obsolete structures, obsolete governance structures that date back to it being independent of the CNCF that it could get rid of and make everybody's life easier.
Yeah.
So, okay, I have
Oh,
a meeting coming up.
Yeah, yeah.
So,
okay.
okay,
Thanks. Thanks, Josh. Thanks, Rian.
bye.
See you later.